I have a project coming up for which I need some custom springs, so I thought, how hard can it be to make a spring winder? So first I modelled it up in Fusion, it took a couple of hours, and then lots of 3D printing. Then it's removing supports, like all 3D printing. I could have split this model into two and printed it in an orientation without supports, but actually for strength I need the layers going across. And then I bought some bearings. I thought even these cheap bearings are probably going to be better than plastic on plastic contact, so I just need to hammer those in. I used a roll of tape between the hammer and the bearing to try and protect it. I'm not sure if that actually is a good idea at all, but it seemed to work. And then I used my heatset insert press to press in some heatset inserts. I used a couple of M6 ones for the nut and the rest were M4. And this is the first machine I made. It definitely needs an upgrade at some point. It doesn't work brilliantly right now. And then I cut a piece of metal rod for the gear shaft. And although I tried to build in tolerances to all the parts, the holes still weren't big enough, so I just had to drill them out slightly. And now for the thing I hate once again, it's the super glue. I'm so thrilled. Just gluing the gear to the gear hub. I made these separate because I wouldn't have enough room to put an insert into the hub if it was attached to the gear. And now the first test assembly for the slides, just checking to see that everything fits and there's enough clearance. I did think of drilling some holes or maybe filing a flat spot onto the shaft to give the screws something to bite onto more securely, but actually it wasn't necessary. This worked fine. And actually the bolt on the gear hub stuck out just a little bit too much, so I changed it to a shorter screw and it turned all the way around fine. Back to the super glue, this time with gloves, because before I don't even know how I got it on my fingers again. I really just hate it. I also glued up the tube before, so had to get a new one. Anyway, I had made the rack as a separate piece to the main body, just so if there was any problems, then I didn't have to print the whole thing again. So just gluing that on, it's got a little recess to locate it, and as you can see, the rack did warp a bit. But I tested it with the gear and it was all fine. I didn't bother reprinting. And then the T-nut goes in and the slide on top and I bolt it down. And then it's just a game of give and take because the bolts need to be tight enough to hold the slides up against the body fairly rigid, but loose enough so there's still a bit of play there and it can actually move up and down along the rack. And now I'm tapping the spindle because I'm going to bolt the handle to it, and I still can't manage to tap straight, so at some point I really do think I need some sort of tap following arm, so maybe that's an upcoming project. This isn't a bottoming tap, so I only did threads part of the way through, and the rest of the threads will be made when I screw the actual bolt in. So now I can slide the spindle in and screw on the handle, and that is the whole spring winder done. Actually, for something that I thought was going to be so complex, it really was quite simple. I've also just noticed that this has a weirdly similar resemblance to a lathe, but I was watching videos of people making springs on a lathe, so maybe that's where I got my inspiration. And now it's assembled fully. Let's see it in action. This is actually the first test. This is the first time I used it, and I printed these little mandrels and drilled a hole in them. And there's a very good website that I'll link to in the description where you can put in the diameter of your wire and what you want the spring to be at the ends, and it will give you the measurement of the diameter of what you should be wrapping the wire around. It's really helpful. And as you can see, this is actually a spring. It's a bit rough around the edges and it's not as perfect as a mass-produced one, but it's not bad for a first attempt. And this is another spring on a larger mandrel, real time. I tried to be a bit more careful with the spacing on this one. It did come out a bit cleaner, but again, not as good as a mass-produced one. But I think the benefit of being able to wind my own custom springs is far outweighs the trade-off of the, let's say, rustic appearance. This is the same wire as before. I think it's 0.4mm music wire, so this is still a fairly weak spring, but it did turn out quite good for a third attempt. It's not bad. thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'm really looking forward to how this expands my manufacturing capability with springs and 3D printing. I feel like we're going in the good direction. Yeah. Thank you.